Alrighty. Welcome to the Rocket Launcher podcast. So this is episode 83, Supreme King Sleepy edition, but I'm gonna power through it. And I am here joined with my co-host, and his name is...
It's your guy, Oasis. Like, that's how you're talking right now.
All right, I guess you gonna switch it up on us. I'm coming back, man. I'm trying I'm up. You're not. I'm up. I'm up. We gonna do this. We gonna do this.
This is gonna be a heavy speculation show when y'all see the topics.
I mean, like, okay, so for the people out there, there really is like the topic, and then there's a bunch of other topics. So we're not going to waste too much time. We're going to get right in it. We're going to talk about Xbox. We're going to hear what my views are on it, what my co-host's views are on it. Everything that we'll probably go into a little bit of details on what was being said before, and then what's true and what's not true yet. So I think we may have talked about this before, and I pretty much dismissed it altogether. Like, that's what we were. So what am I talking about? Xbox possibly being third party, either fully third party or partially third party, or we don't really have that much detail yet. The most that we can go off of is a Phil Spencer tweet, right? And I know one of the main things I think people were kind of upset with about this tweet was because he mentioned that, like, we hear you, I guess. It's like, we're listening and we hear you or something like that. And it's like, some people are saying, well, you're clearly not, right? And then some people saying, yeah, it depends on, which platform you're on, really. That makes it like a good or a bad thing. But the one thing that we did not do is we never really considered if it was true and the worst case scenarios, I guess, if you are an Xbox player or someone in the ecosystem that was investing in the ecosystem to an extent, similar to like me. For example, I have the console. I do also have access to the software on the PC side, but according to what's being said, the Xbox brand, and I would imagine the software, various different IPs in the software, is apparently going to be not only, so it was already on the PC, so where a lot of people pretty much was dismissing the brand on consoles anyway. But the change is now we're hearing that it would also go to PlayStation, which is their direct competitor, and then also Nintendo Switch to an extent. The funny part about that is, like, the information on that is still kind of vague. It's like we're mentioning Nintendo. Some people say the Switch. Some people saying the Switch 2 once it comes out. It's really not even like no real source whatsoever on that. It's just basically games will go to Nintendo, basically.
Can you imagine Starfield on the Switch?
Goofy, right? Like, I think it would be... It would have to be some form of a cloud version. Like, a majority of these games would have to be some form of a cloud version.
It'd be one planet.
Or they may, you think they could do it like Mario Galaxy, where it's like the planet is like extra small and you just like you run it around a little planet, like on like Dragon Ball Z, almost like Kai's planet. But yeah, so I don't think we did not really, I said it already, but we didn't really consider if it was true, right? So let's kind of consider that for an example. We still can't really give any definitive answer until, I guess, next week. Funny enough, he never gave a date So it's like it's next week, but then it's like when next week. It seems like it's gonna be a super long week because we're technically like halfway through the week almost. Since he made the tweet, the most that I could say is maybe it'll be that exact 7 days later from when he put the tweet out, Phil Spencer. But all we know is that next week we'll hear about the quote unquote future of Xbox and Xbox brand. Um, Let me ask you first, do you have a problem with this at all? As a PlayStation player, I guess. Because the PlayStation players I've seen
Well,
are kind of celebrating, right?
so I'm a PlayStation player who also chose to get a.
Yes.
I like the idea that some of these games coming over. Like I wanted to play what is that, Hi-Fi Rush?
Yes.
I had planned on getting it on PC at some point, but like since I'm a console player, if I could get to do so, uh, I'm not, as a PlayStation player, not upset, and I can also see financially why this might be a good move for Microsoft to a degree, like certain things like what they're trying to do, or where this can help. But I can also understand thoroughly why Xbox players would be pissed at them,
Right.
because you're ultimately kind of just saying like there was no reason to get our console, right? Like you could have got the PS5 console and waited. It was the same thing where we said if games were gonna for PS5, if all of the games were gonna start going to, there really it's all you need is a PC. Why would you get a PS5? You can play everything on PC. You just gotta wait a little while. And if anything, with games coming out broken at first,
Mm-hmm.
waiting a little while is good. So now you get the fixed complete edition every time when you go to play on like PC. And if you have to wait to get it on PlayStation, you're gonna get the fixed version.
Yeah.
I want to get your thoughts first, and then I can go into my why I think financially I can understand Xbox, like Microsoft's logic for it. But first, from a person who plays Xbox.
See, that's the one category I don't understand, to be honest.
Okay.
Because
Uh,
it's like, if so, the main thing we would say is that the money they're trying to make more money, right?
right.
Like that's what we would say. But so we're trying to make more money. The money was not coming in quick enough. Um, and the way I look at it is like, but this is coming from literally the richest company, like period. Like that's the part that's kind of I'm not understanding because it's like, well, you didn't give it a chance. That's where I'm coming from. For me,
Okay.
it so I am upset a little bit because I feel like you did not give the brand a chance. I think you would have given the brand a chance if this type of announcement was made like in the last 4 or 5 months of the last year of the generation, not the third year in. The
So
third
by
year in
brand
is
you
like you
mean
didn't give it a chance. You didn't give nobody a chance.
by brand you mean Series X and S, not box, right?
Like the whole thing. Like because like they will say so games needed to make more in sales, right? I thought like Starfield for example did. You know what I mean? Like we didn't really go there too much, but Starfield came out at the same time as Mortal Kombat 1, right? Mortal Kombat 1, because I think this is probably a really, really good example too. Mortal Kombat 1 was fully multiplayer. It was to the point where everybody was trashing the Switch version, right? Fully multiplayer. The Starfield is a brand new IP, but it's still from a well known publisher, Bethesda. But it actually sold more in its debut month than Mortal Kombat 1, the game with the movies, good or bad, decades of lineage. Everybody should know this one, right? The new game, the new guy on the block outsold it. It's like that's the third party game, and then it's a first party game that outsold it. It was like, was that really not good enough? Like Starfield was, it's not even a year old, right? Like it reminds me of like Forspoken. Like I did play a part in like the demise of Forspoken just as like a content creator. I can admit that. But when Forspoken's studio decides to just call it quits like the next month, I didn't agree with that part at all. I was like, well, you didn't give it a chance. How did it go? How do you quit the next month?
I agree with you, that part.
So the problem, so in more detail too, like how much do you expect the console to really thrive if you was already putting it on other platforms anyway from the get-go? Like with the Xbox One, like that didn't happen immediately. It was like somewhere in the generation they was just like, okay, it'll go on, like all the games will go on PC as well, even though we'll still put out the 1X, right? And then the 1X itself just didn't really sell as good. But you know, the Xbox One in general made some sales or whatever, right?
Right.
This generation, we were going into the generation where you still had the choice to go on a PC, whether it was a really good one or a potato, right? And it's like, can we really be basing it off of the console sale, or was it just overall? Because at the same time, if you were on PC or the console, the actual premise was get Game Pass and you don't have to buy games at full price. Like that's their branding.
Right.
So it's like, how do you punish the ecosystem, or like in a way, just from the perspective of the Xbox player, for doing what essentially you told them to do? You know what I mean? That's kind of where I was coming from with it. But the biggest part is just, I feel like you did not give the generation a chance. That's where I'm at. If it's true, you did not give the generation a chance to me. Like, if I can put an analogy out there, I could do like a couple different ones. Like, if like I don't feel like they lost to PlayStation. I feel like they just quit. Like losing to PlayStation would be what people considered the Xbox 360 generation to the PS3, where it was just like, it was, to me, I look at that as a tie, because that was like the difference was like the console sales was by like 1 million, right? A little over 1 million. A definitive loss, like a wrestling match, like pinned 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring, will probably be the Xbox One versus the PS4, because you could clearly see the gap there, right? But they went the distance. That's the thing for me. It's like I could respect the Xbox One to an extent there, because you went the full generation. You didn't just stop, right? You did things like put out like Gears of War 5, for example, like towards the very end of that generation, and then like not as many games in between, but you still was there the whole time. It's like you definitively lost to PlayStation 4 in that generation, where this one you didn't show up to the fight. That's how it looks to me. It looks like you just didn't really show up. It looks like if I was to say like a big topic right now that I see in wrestling as an example is like Roman Reigns to face Cody or Roman Reigns to face The Rock. And I think we kind of got some confirmation on that, like breaking news. But like
I can tell you real quick, they had like a little press conference thing.
Yeah, I saw.
Was Roman, and now it looks like, I'm already saying at Elimination Chamber, is it gonna be Rock and Roman versus Cody?
Yeah, I think they're probably gonna do something like that. But like to make the example though, it would look like at that press conference, you basically get an announcement that both The Rock and Cody is just not going to face Roman. And WrestleMania will continue. Every other match will happen. Roman will have no opponent, and he'll still be champion, and they'll just keep going. Like that's how it would have looked to me if that's the case. Or another example, and I'll be careful if we was to dox ourselves, but a lot of people that we know were following the Detroit Lions in their quest to go to the Super Bowl in a way. Like, what if they just showed up to an arena one day and everybody's watching from home, everybody's in the arena, and a coach or somebody just announced, we're not going to actually play this game. And we have no intentions on actually going for this Super Bowl. Maybe we'll go for the next Super Bowl next year. Maybe not. Who knows?
I wouldn't know how to react. I wouldn't know how to react.
But that's how it looks to me. It don't look like you're showing up to the fight. That's, you know what I mean? Like, you don't go to full 12 rounds in a boxing match or something like that. And the thing about it, I know that's a little bit short-sighted because I kind of have an idea of what Xbox is trying to do, which I'm going to be honest, I don't think I agree with. But just,
I don't think it's going to work, but
like, just from what I'm seeing, I was just like, well, that's not, you're not going to war in the console war. Now, yeah, the console war is probably outdated. It's definitely outdated. But I just kind of feel like, well, you just gave up. You didn't, and the thing is that's not how anything works. Like, that's not how, like, gaming or anything is. Like, you're not going to make that much money immediately. You know, it reminds me of like all the different things that we were talking about in the past for different games. I put this game on the screen specifically because Marvel is a big franchise. When this game was announced, the MCU was at its peak in the like movie space, right? It was like literally in its peak. And there were people who thought, okay, we can throw this game out there and we're going to make so much money that it's going to be similar to the MCU. That didn't happen, right? And then they delisted this game, and they delisted it like really early. It didn't have that much time at all. And it's like, well, you didn't give the game its full life cycle. You know,
right.
Like we can go into mom and pop stores and stuff and buy a whole bunch of different games physically, you know, and like from older generations and stuff. But this generation specifically, and I guess going forward, that won't happen anymore. But it's almost to the point where it's like, well, we'll rip it from the digital stores as well, even with physical media going away. Because a certain amount of money just wasn't really, like, they didn't get a certain goal, I guess, you know, initially. And it's just like, well, like a gamer might say, I'll put this on the backlog. That's a popular term amongst people who play a lot of games. This is on the backlog, that is on the backlog. I'm struggling to get past my backlog. The backlog is growing even bigger, right? And it's like to an extent, is you're not going to get a certain amount of money right away, depending on a game is exclusive or multiplat. And this is an example of a game that was fully multiplat, with the exception of just the Spider-Man character, right? And they didn't get their money, I guess. And I'm just like, well, Xbox's plan for third party is not that good of a plan, because there are plenty of games out here that are third party where they're not getting paid either.
Right.
Mortal Kombat 1 it probably was still a success in itself, but it lost to an exclusive game. And then this game right here, cool little game, at least for the single player portion. But if you had only a digital system, you have no access to get this if you didn't already have it. You know?
Right.
And so yeah,
I was
go ahead.
trying to make sense of the situation, and I was trying to think, like, why would Microsoft do this? And I had to stop thinking like a gamer and just think of like because the people who make this decision, they're not playing the game.
Yeah.
So where I can think their logic is I honestly think PlayStation, for example, put a few games on PC to try and be like, look how cool our games are. Don't you want to play them early? Get a PlayStation. Like, I honestly feel like that's like they get a little bit of extra money for
That's
the people
valid.
who bought it on PC, and then they're just like, but don't you want to play it faster? Uh, and I feel like the exclusives in some of the games that came out for Xbox last year didn't do as well as would have been hoped, right? Like, I don't think an Xbox or bought into Game Pass specifically for a Hi-Fi Rush.
Mm-hmm.
Redfall didn't do well,
Mm-hmm.
and after some reports, Starfield kind of got called like your game, right? Like it was like the breaking game or things like that.
Right.
Uh, and I feel like because of that, with a lot of the releases that came out, there wasn't anything they feel would have been like that's what forced the person's like I gotta go get Game Pass, I gotta get an Xbox. And if you look at some of the games coming out soon, you have what is it, Hellblade? Uh,
Hellblade 2, I
and
guess
Indiana
Indiana
Jones.
Jones at one
And
point.
again, I don't think those are gonna get more like it's not gonna get more people to go. I have to go get this system.
Right.
And I think in the short term, because they're not thinking long term, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a second. Because I think there is a game that would bring people in, but the short term, all they're seeing is we're not gonna bring these people in, so they're trying to pull the let's put it on every like other systems, so that now like the PlayStation gets a taste. Starfield and Hi-Fi Rush, and it's like, man, you could have played this earlier if you would have just gotten Xbox. Or under the same logic is like, I know you're enjoying that Starfield, but you had to pay a whole $70 for that. Where if you pay 15 a month, like you get Starfield and this, versus having to constantly play 70. Like, why
Mm.
would you come over to Xbox? I feel like that's where their logic is trying to pull extra people in. Uh,
You know what's so
the
crazy
game
about
that
that
I
is like,
do.
well, you
Oh,
would have to literally ignore the meltdown in the past 2 3 days, though.
exactly. That's the issue. And it's like they're not looking at their people. I always consider it like when I always think about like places like, for example, let's say Planet Fitness or Comcast or like these different companies where it's always here's the sale for the new person and here's the enticing offer for the new person, and then the loyal people are just stuck paying the full price of being
Yeah.
right. So I think it's that, and then I do think also what they're also kind of ignoring is probably how many people would have went out and got an Xbox and got on Game Pass for Elder Scrolls. Like six, that to me is gonna be that's the big one that would pull people in. Uh but they're kind of like pulling. It seems like they're trying to pull this plug too soon. Uh for that for the third party, I am interested to see what game. Because I don't know, feel like is it gonna be all of them, or in their head are they thinking we
So
won't make that much off of Indiana Jones specifically. So let's throw Indiana Jones everywhere. And maybe Blade everywhere to maximize profit, but it's not going to be like Halo on PlayStation.
funny enough, I didn't see too many reports on Blade itself. I've seen a lot on Indiana Jones and Starfield, and it really started to just like spiral out of control because people was mentioning like that they were gonna go back and port like all the Gears of War and
Yeah,
all of the Halos, and I'm like, some of that don't even make sense. Maybe the latest Halo Infinite and maybe the latest Gears 5, but I don't see them just going back throughout the full catalog. They was just going at it with that. I'm like, some of this stuff is old. Like, I don't know what y'all talking about, but
now, I have heard it before, and I don't remember if an Xbox person said this, like one of the company people, or if it was a speculation. But hasn't Xbox been really wanting to get into like being a streaming like thing? Like you can get Xbox Game Pass on the TV.
yeah,
And
like I think I even had a short video on that when I very first started, where I was talking
yeah,
about it being on the TV and thing. Yeah, that would have been the streaming only thing. At one point, people was talking about it having their like a Roku kind of device as well. Um,
So
so
is this
Xbox,
them?
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, so I think the term was like Xbox Play Everywhere, and I remember at one point thinking it does seem a little ridiculous that it's Xbox Play Everywhere except PlayStation, because that's how it
Yeah.
looked. It looked like Xbox Play Everywhere except PlayStation, so I'm like, that's kind of goofy.
Which
But
now,
yeah, and then now it's like it's a little different. Um,
now, like, is this the future that they've been trying to push towards? Anyways, and maybe the console thing was just because we have to make one, but their whole mindset is how do we get people everywhere on Game Pass?
yeah, and I think so. I want to
Oh,
address that in a second, because I do think I understand where their vision is, and I don't. When I said before, I don't think I'm ready to accept it.
and I'm
Um,
not saying any of this is good for the gamer either. Um,
yeah,
like I think it would be really weird if like we were really trying to advertise PlayStation like on Xbox or like on
yeah.
PC. Like it would be a weird thing. Again, it's like why do I subscribe to your console if it's
They
just
they're
convenient?
they're obviously changing the game in a way where, like, they've managed to successfully gain the entire internet's intention, like attention, or anybody who's invested in
True.
gaming. Period. Is like literally this is the talk of the town. It's overshadowed so many different things. Like I'm pretty sure because I put this down, but I didn't even watch it. Did you even watch the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Direct?
No.
You
Well,
didn't even watch.
rephrase. I opened it and like fast forwarded like on when you hover the mouse on the bottom of
Yeah,
YouTube and it'll show you clips. I went through and saw that it was all Final Fantasy and said nah, like because I was looking up Xbox stuff to be honest.
yeah. So I apologize to anybody who might have wanted us to talk about that. I will probably attempt to play Intergrid again at some point, because I do have it through, I guess, PS Plus. But no, I didn't watch the show either, and I guess I could already check this off of my notes there because we don't have nothing to talk about it on there. You know what I'm saying? But not only that, props to Persona 3 Reloaded. It did get like 1 million copies sold.
Hey,
And Persona 3 is something, or Persona is as a series, along with where it came from, Shimigami Tensei. I did want to use that as an example because let's say somehow, some way they had acquired Atlas, right? They're doing a really big like thing with Atlas right now with a good partnership. Like
uh-huh.
the Xbox or Microsoft, the way they're acting now, you if this was in its beginning, you would have never even gotten to Persona 5. Like, because Persona, if we notice, like, there's a lot of games there and remakes and stuff, and the Persona series, if you go all the way back, this stretches way back. You know what I'm saying? Multiple
Uh-huh.
generations. Even Persona 5 was, I think, originally on the PS3, right? This stretches far.
Yep.
And it's just now starting to get the hype from all these other people and stuff and becoming like a much bigger like game and a much bigger fan base. But it took it going through multiple Persona games and multiple the Shimigami Tenseis. Like even then, it's like now you go back and you watch or you play the rest of them, right? But for a
Yep.
lot of people, I'll admit from myself as well, I knew about Persona 4 Golden and Arena, but Persona 5 Royal is my first Persona game where I'm really going through it.
Same.
And I will go back and play Golden, Arena, Strikers. I have Tactica as well. And then Persona 3 Reloaded, obviously. And then obviously Persona 6. But it would have had to go through all these generations basically in order to get to that point. And it's like well, you just kind of cut off, like, because there's still more reports we got to also address. They fired the whole physical media division
Yeah.
overnight, right? And then like people were being shoveled around. I guess they do have a replacement officially for I guess Bobby Kotick. I think her name is Joanna Forrest. I believe I said her name right. She's new president of Blizzard. She moved up from being the GM. Funny enough, I put pretty black woman. So they put somebody else there, and the other people are kind of like there, right? But like you fired the physical division, right? I have a Series X, not a Series S, but like a lot of the Xbox current gen games, I had more of an intention on playing on Game Pass, but like I could have bought a bunch of them, right, physical, but like we're this far into the generation, which I still feel like, because we're technically not even officially halfway in. But this is fact. We can talk about this. You fired the physical media department, which essentially tells me, because we also knew that the retailers are getting rid of the physical media in general, but on the gaming side, they were starting with Xbox. And it's like, not everybody is doing Game Pass. There are a lot of people who really do want this big bookshelf wall of fame.
I'm one of those people.
And you are taking that from them, basically.
Yep.
The option is going away. And it's like, this part probably irritates me the most out of everything, because it's like the option is going away. And it's like, why? Because you couldn't really sell as many physical copies of the games, right? Because of all these other things going on. However, literally, the game systems did not go into the stores until like literally like this past holiday season, where it was like frequently there, right? But the system had been out since November 2020. In my head, I'm like, what did you expect?
Yep.
Not everybody is checking their phones 24/7 trying to fight a computer to get a system.
Exactly.
Everybody couldn't have done that. Right? So what did you expect? If you put them in the stores from 2020 and they weren't selling and they were just sitting there, okay, I can understand that slightly. I can still understand, even though I want you to go to full generation, I can understand that. We sat here and played with the internet for 3 years, where there was like, okay, we'll drip feed like 100 of them at a time. If you didn't click on it within the first minute, then forget about it, come back next week or something. And you have people like sitting in front of their computers with these like refresh screens and stuff, where like it constantly refreshes it for you, and you had to like follow all these specific people and stuff, all of these bot websites that will let you know when something was available. That was the only way you was going to be able to get a console.
Or have GameStop contact you and charge you like $200 extra.
Yeah, or buy one of these crazy bundles that was up to $1,000, or the eBay thing where it's just the console itself for like $1,000. And that's what we did for like at least 2.5 years out of the past 3 years. At least. And that was on both systems. And I'm like, okay, yeah, of course you didn't like sell the software to the average person, a mom or something that can't afford all the systems but wanted to get that, because Game Pass is attractive to a parent. And it's like, it's weird for me to have to like take the stance for this group of people, but I have to kind of do that because
streaming services, right? It's the popular thing, and then now you ain't gotta buy all of these. They just got them.
Yeah, because my other thing that I had an issue with was like, I'm not too much of a conspiracy theorist, but I sat there and thought about this for a second. Because I advocated on the podcast plenty of times where I was just like, this is one of the best console deals I've ever seen this past Black Friday when you could have gotten the Xbox console for as low as like $350, Series X. And I was like, why is this so on such a like high, like discount? And then like if you got it from Target, Target was also giving you like a $75 gift card. And it's like it kind of makes sense now when I think about it, because it's like, okay, if the retailers are now saying they're getting rid of physical media, and they also sat there and deep discounted this system this past holiday season, then that tells me that you told them a long time ago and you didn't tell us, basically. And this isn't something that you basically just woke up one day and say, you know what, I guess we're just going to go throw a party today. It's like, no, you would have absolutely, thought about this for a long time. And there's a good enough amount of retailers that was also tipped off about this, and it's like, if all of these guys knew, you should have told your actual customer so that you wasn't wasting our time. Like somebody out there bought that system this holiday season and it's past the time for them to even taking it back. You know what I'm saying? And then they probably had the PlayStation first. They probably had the Switch first. And then they bought that for $300 something. They probably bought a bunch of Game Pass codes like I did. And then they were told, or they're being told kinda, that it was going to go to a system that they already owned. And it's like, well, I just spent this money. You know what I'm saying? You go the same thing. Like, I don't even know if we ever addressed this, but like for the people out there who solely, because I hear people always say, for the longest, I play Xbox games on PC. I've never really heard too many people like advocate for the PC games that was all like on the system and not, or on PC and not anywhere else. They always would say, well, I play Xbox games on PC. And I'm like, well, what about the people who really paid some money for a PC because they just wanted to refuse to get an Xbox for whatever reason? And then all of a sudden they're being told, oh, I could have probably even bought this. I didn't even need to do this. I could have just played it on the PlayStation if I was a PlayStation player anyway.
Yeah, that is the thing.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's a small enough group of people, but definitely the people who bought the system this past holiday season, absolutely you're being cheated in a way. Absolutely. And that I have an issue with, for myself especially, because I played some next gen titles, but I didn't play all of them. And at the same time, even on the PlayStation side, I didn't play all the titles. I have no intentions on buying Rise of the Ronin and Stellar Blade day one, but I will buy it at some point. But the way the energy is being moved out here is like, if you don't play this year, like you are going to kind of be punished for it. That's kind of what I'm hearing in a way, and it's like, I would get to it eventually. You know what I mean? That's the way I'm going with it. It's like, I don't have to play it immediately. But just like Persona 3 Reloaded or being the latest game, it's like you got to get to that point by taking a few losses in between, or like having a game go out there. Because you got to remember too, like when we're talking Persona 1, Persona 2, Persona 3, when it was in its original form, like it was out there competing with games like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. You know what I mean? It was out there competing with like Def Jam Vendetta or something, like a lot of these type of games that was hot in that time frame. And it's like, it just has to navigate in the waters of a lot of sharks to get to a point where now it's built a fan base. It's like, you didn't give it real time. You know what I mean? Like, look at what Borderlands as a franchise became. It definitely didn't become that off of Borderlands 1. You know what I mean? but I feel like you didn't give it the time that it needs. You're trying too hard to try to make a certain amount of money quickly, and it's not going to work because the gamers are not going to just go out there. If you didn't pay the $70 on one platform, you're not going to pay it on another. You know what I'm saying? Like the Switch, typically the third party games are more expensive on the Switch, and the Switch runs the worst version. It's like I don't pay the most on the Switch for it, right?
Now, do you think there could be a logic in the again business aspect head where they think in their mind, I guess money wise, they feel Xbox lost, Xbox 360 lost, Xbox One lost, and then they feel like Xbox Series X and S ain't doing well. So
They were
that's
looking
why,
at the projected
yeah,
long term.
of course,
Yeah,
because that's all business people do. So in their head, because of that, when we say like we didn't give it enough time, are they saying, well, we gave it 4 generations worth?
possibly. I just feel like you have an obligation to finish the generation because you could have easily,
Or
if you
no?
were going to do that, you could have, instead of at the Game Awards in 2019, reveal your refrigerator, you could have revealed that Xbox would have been everywhere then. That's
Yeah,
how I feel. I feel like, and that would have not wasted our time because nobody would have jumped in for the first like console, like jumped in for the console itself and buy it, because even though it's not making as much as PlayStation, the console space on Xbox side right now is still up like 20 million. There's still
yeah,
20 million people who is potentially, being overlooked, because going forward it also sounds like you're going to prioritize the other platforms over this platform. So like eventually certain multiplayer games and games like that, like you're going to have less options for like player base online than other systems, and it's like that's not really your fault, you know what I mean? It's just they kind of, because they optimize for other platforms over it, it sounds like this one's going to get the short end of the stick a little bit.
yeah.
um Now, so what's the positive? The positive, like I can't find it, to be honest. I on the
Again,
gamer's side, I
if
can't. Maybe for somebody to say like I don't want to buy the system, then there's a positive for you.
yeah, from the
But
gamer side, again, if like it works out to where they're like, check this game, and the game convinces more people to jump on Xbox. That's, I guess more people on Xbox, so more people to play with. I guess I don't know. Uh,
you remember the
I don't
meme
really
where
see the
somebody would say
benefit.
like I'm willing to wait 3 years for like the game to go down to a certain price, like 15
Yeah,
$20. Like that's every gamer though. It's not gonna matter which system you are. That's why I'm just like Square Enix was a person or a company that I wrote down as an example. They're getting ready. Their big push right now is Final Fantasy 7. Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth is going to do some good numbers for them. But Square Enix is also the publisher of the Marvel Avenger game that we showed in the beginning. That suffered, and then not only that, that affected the Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy game too, right? Like just as like Crossfire, like it caught a couple strays because of that one game. And it's like they're gonna have some good games, and they're gonna have some highs and some lows. But it sounds to me like Xbox is going third party to try to get rid of the lows. And I'm like, third party games have lows. like we just got done announcing that so many of the third party publishers have just got done firing everybody.
yep,
So it's like, and then obviously yes, and under Microsoft they fired some people too. But it's just like what are you trying to do that's not, that you're not already doing? And that's when we get into the part where I have an idea of what they're going to do, and I don't necessarily agree with it, because I just don't think it's good for gaming. But I honestly believe that Microsoft is taking the Agent Smith approach, basically. And what I mean by Agent Smith is like they're not trying to go third party, they're trying to be third party. Because at the same time, I don't think they're going to stop buying everybody. And
Okay.
if you're putting your games everywhere, then everybody trying to block you have no defense against you. Because with the Activision deal, the main thing was, you're gonna be blocking games from PlayStation. Well, now they can't say that, right? And so it's like you kind of have the go ahead to be the monopoly that you want to be, if they still allow it. But what's the defense against you probably buying another big publisher, buying a bunch of indie studios and stuff, and literally becoming third party? Where it's like, okay, PlayStation has the console, but if they can't put out nothing but Spider-Man one year, then they literally have to rely on Xbox in order to put out more titles. And it's like, who's really the monopoly here then? It's like one is going to have the monopoly in the software, and the other one might have the monopoly in the hardware. And neither one sounds good to me, and honestly.
That also is a good, but I guess as a benefit to the gamer, if Xbox owns more third party stuff, then that's more third party stuff that can come to Game Pass. But I don't know if that's a good trade off. But so
Yeah,
if we're looking for a positive, that is a positive.
yeah. Depending on how you look at it, um, the Xbox gamer who had the console, like if you are somebody who had only consoles and no PC, you had a PlayStation, a Xbox, and a Switch, and you had no intentions on getting on PC at all, mainly because of cost, right? Like, if you are in that group, to an extent, you probably still thinking like, I wish you would have said something or done something probably in 2019. Not even put it out to begin with, because it just seems like you could have just consolidated. Like I could have used. Like, I'm not really hurting for the $500, but I'm just saying the $500 could have went to the MetaQuest. It could have went to a PSVR 2. It could have went to, you know what I mean. Like any little thing. It could have even went to bills, right?
Uh-huh.
It's just like I don't want to be in a situation where I feel like I'm being played. And this is where my solo video is going to go into when I make the video on it. I don't want to feel cheated. I don't want to feel played. And I don't want to feel like my time is being wasted. Basically, you know, they didn't waste my time completely. I just feel like there's a combination of it to an extent. Like I'm like, you could have said it. You really could have said it. Early, because I don't think that this is something that you make this type of decision overnight. This is not something you would have made overnight. The retailers are kind of proof of that. I feel like the retailers were tipped off. You know what I mean? Real quick, can we deviate for a second to Evil West, and then we'll deviate back?
Oh boy.
So
Oh.
yeah, Evil West is on the screen. You and me were playing this game co-op the entire way, and we decided to drop it at the very last minute.
Yep.
Um,
We're on like the last or second to last mission. Like literally, it was pretty much two fights left.
yeah. And so you want to
Talk
go and
about why?
tell them why? Yeah, go ahead.
Because the game is jank. So, all right,
Yeah.
basically we get to this part where there's like a field of enemies that we have to fight. And you're fighting through them, and then it summons like elite enemies that can heal. And I've now looked up like ways that you're supposed to beat it, because it just you're trying to fight one of them before you can like kill them. The if any of them starts the healing process, it heals all three. So no matter what you're doing, it's just one of them just starts healing again. So I looked it up, and apparently you're supposed to have all of your supers like supercharged from the first fight, so you can run in and just take one out quickly. Then it's gonna spawn a bunch of little enemies that you can like rebuild your supers off of to jump another one quickly and rinse and repeat. The problem is we spent the first fight building up our supers, used the supers on one of them, and it didn't finish them off. Then they all healed themselves. So we
Yeah.
never can get to the second phase because they're just constantly healing. And it's like, it was literally impossible to get. We were just like, it was to the point where we weren't even dying. We were just quitting because it was just going on and on. Like, no
They were
end
just
result.
like punching bags, basically.
Yeah.
Punching
And it
bags,
was
and you just keep dodging them. Punching back, keep dodging them.
so positives of the game. It did feel like in a good way that like PS3 hack and slash game, easy to follow, goofy story. Oh, and some of the weapons were cool, but the jank and some of the errors or us getting crashed a few times or you phasing into the map, and then just this ending boss where it seems like it's their fault why it's not doing good. Like I hate anything where it's like it's not even a get good situation. It's just
Yeah.
literally it's just the game's not doing what it's supposed to do, or we can't even supercharge. We beat all the enemies and we still don't have enough charge to like
Yeah.
do anything. So it was just because that was the only way to beat this final part. And it got low, way lower scale score for me. Like I just don't like that we just can't.
It was kind of a disappointment for me because I looked at it as like it possibly would have been a more action packed Remnant 2, but it wasn't.
Yeah,
um, so it is what it is. It basically was more of like a beat 'em up in a way. I think the shooting almost came second to doing the beat 'em up stuff.
yeah, it was a beat 'em up hack and slash.
Yeah. But unfortunately, we couldn't finish the story. The funny thing about it is the story seemed a little bit more like there were some elements in there where I felt like it probably could have ended right here anyway. So I'm okay with it. I'm just kind of disappointed because I don't like to just drop games, especially that far. Like we were like
I
really technically
literally it was
right before the final boss,
because I looked it up. Like it was literally 2 minutes. It was that fight and then the final boss fight. And that was it.
and then that was it. So unfortunately we couldn't roll credits on it. But yeah, I still would say like it's a fun game to play with other people. Maybe. I don't even know if I would play that by myself in the kind of state that it's in.
I agree.
But you probably have access to this if you claimed it on PS Plus. I would imagine at some point it might be a Epic Games game at some point. Speaking of which, I could probably go to that and then we'll go back to the other topics. So usually at the halfway point, we're like way past it. I would talk about Epic Games being an unofficial sponsor where I just pretty much put you on to some of the free games that are being offered for the week. Epic has 2 games that's being offered this week that you can claim right now, and you'll have until February 15th for these. One of them was Doki Doki Literature Club Plus, and the other
Yeah.
one was Lost Castle. Those are available right now under Epic Games. You can go claim them. Remember, you just need to have a profile. You don't need to have any type of credit card information. And then you can play this on any PC of your choice, like any of the handhelds or regular conventional PC. Just log right in and all of your games that you have claimed will be right there. And then the game for February 15th to the 22nd, I believe, is Dakar Desert Rally. Yeah, so I don't know too much about it. It's free. Free is free. Can't complain if it's free. So go down there and definitely claim those games. Again, I would say check local retailers in your area because with the physical media being targeted, I don't feel like it's just phasing away. It still allows you to get some good liquidation sales on a bunch of stuff. There's a couple things I was looking at but didn't really pull the trigger on because it's not really something I want to play yet. But I was able to get Dying Light 2 for like $15 if I remember correctly last month. So I think the way that they're moving, they want that stuff out of there probably by the summertime. So just keep checking and you'll see a lot of cool things that are on sale. You have anything to add to that? You've got any sales, man? You got some stuff you want to put the people on?
Nope.
No sales. All right. I guess we can get back to the other topic just for a split second, and then we could probably just move on to some of the other stuff. For Xbox, how this is probably a good thing for them, or Microsoft, I guess. How this is a good thing for Microsoft. They are probably going to fulfill their vision long term. This might be one of the last generations for consoles, period, with the exception of maybe Nintendo. Nintendo probably is going to keep going, but with everybody trying to get rid of physical media, I wonder how that's going to affect Nintendo. Nintendo relies on it more. It would be an absolute shocker if we find out that Nintendo is like moving ahead faster, and all of a sudden the Switch 2 is a digital only system. Because we know they don't want you pirating off of their cartridges. And their cartridges have been exploited like crazy this generation. Even to the point where they got that fake one now that everybody's starting to get on, where it tricks the system into thinking it's a real cartridge when it's not. And so I wonder if they might say for themselves, we're going to do away with physical media as well, just for piracy's sake. Because their thing was piracy, where Xbox is more sales, you know. But with the other topic, Xbox is trying to be Agent Smith. I really believe it. I don't really think I want to live in a world where they are in control of third party. I didn't mind them buying some publishers here and there with the thought process of you have a roster on your platform. But to possibly just become third party, I don't know. That's just, it seems a little odd for me. What do you think? Do you think that's, for the gamer's perspective? I don't know.
I don't like the idea of monopolies because it always goes bad.
Yeah.
Like bad, NFL has the NFL monopoly, and now bad at games are bad. Even outside of video game sphere, when WWE was like the only promotion, like, there's no competition, so there's no reason to be better because there's no one you have to compete against. So in them becoming a monopoly over like third party games would be bad, and PlayStation not competition can be bad because there's like whenever things are just mediocre, or just if they get worse, and it's just like, well, where are you gonna go? Like that's that's where we get at. There's
yeah, because it's like, well, the alternative is you just play Mario and just play Zelda.
I think these companies need competition to keep them in check.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that, and it just seems it's so weird for gaming because it's just like stop making these changes is how I look at it as from a gamer perspective. But yeah, Microsoft is probably thinking leagues ahead. The only other thing that we didn't really address was the dueling news that got like absolutely no traction whatsoever. But basically there was also reports that they are looking to make multiple new consoles, which also includes a handheld at the same time. And I still believe that's probably true. It just seems so odd because it's like a head scratcher to you, right? It's like, why you keep making all these consoles if you're not going to lock down your software? Because yes, they're probably thinking like, yeah, we're going to make so much more money by not locking it down. The thing about it is your main consumer of this is thinking the opposite. it's like the consumer wants it. You know what I mean? To an extent, it's like the consumer wants you to be a legit platform. Um, to an extent, if you're looking at it from the Xbox side, I would say that. If you're not, you just like, well, no, I want more games on my console, I guess. On the PlayStation side, though, I kind of feel like I should want more PlayStation games on my console. I should not be wanting more Xbox games. That's kind of how I look at it. Um,
I see both. Well, from a PlayStation player, I want more PlayStation games. But
yeah,
you cannot admit in a console war thing, it just feels their end where it's like, oh, I get to play all the like the cool things that I would have had to miss out on. I get to play that too.
yeah, yeah. Um, so in the long run, I think they want to have it where it's an app on your PC, it's an app on your TV, it's an app or however they do it on all the consoles. And then if you wanted to have it as a traditional console, we'll have that option for you. Because it doesn't seem like if the reports are true that they're going to probably have some more like handheld as and some other stuff, then they may not get rid of the console altogether. It's just it seems like maybe production will probably slow down. Maybe as time goes on, it's going to disappear in the stores again, where it's like you might be in a situation where you have to try to ask for it. It's just not going to be a computer demand for it, like a bot, right? Um, and that's just the thing you just have to deal with. But Xbox everywhere to the point where it might be on, almost on a smartwatch in a way. Like it seems like it's going to be everywhere. The Agent Smith approach. I don't know if I'm too ready for that. Maybe it's a huge deal for them if they feel like they can maximize their profits. I just feel like in the meantime, you're sacrificing your core audience like loyalty in a way. Because that's the thing. Maybe they're saying, okay, we'll sacrifice that now. They'll be back maybe in a generation or something. It's just like I don't know if I would have made that choice. You know, it reminds me of like in wrestling where it's like you're a hardcore fan, but at some point they're throwing you a bunch of stuff that's like to win casuals over, and the casuals don't really come. You're still stuck with the hardcore, but the hardcore didn't ask for it. You know, like when they have like all the talk show hosts and stuff, like on the show, it's like I didn't ask for that. I just want to see good matches. You know, it's like the same thing with this. It's like I didn't ask for all this other stuff. I just want to see games, good games.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. We exhausted it. We're gonna come back to that topic after we hear whatever they officially say. I'm expecting the third party to be true but drip fed, similar to how like Nintendo drip feeds like Game Boy Advance stuff on their platform every month or something. I think it'll be that, but a little bit like more further out. Like the same way that you see PlayStation 5 drip feed the PC market, I think that's how you're going to see Xbox drip feed the other platforms. Kinda.
That's what I thought they were going to do.
I also, interesting enough, I do think a handheld might actually come. It would be a game changer if they wanted to go into the VR market, but I don't know if they're going to do that. But I do think they might do a handheld. I think honestly for myself, I wouldn't get it. I think it would be kind of useless for me because I have the other ones, and I think that we're a little oversaturated in the market with handhelds that fast. But if they want to do it, they want to do it. It just seems really odd to me that in the middle of all this, you might still want to push some of these hardware devices. And like I kind of feel for the people who have to work in these departments, because every department still has a goal, right? And they still have a quota and all this other stuff. And it's like, how do you expect them to hit their goals if you're still doing all these different things? But I don't know. They're thinking leads ahead. We're gonna see if it works out for them. It is what it is. I don't feel like I have wasted my money 100% though. I still got a good enough experience on the Series X, and there's still things that the Series X does that the PC doesn't, which is pretty much upgrading old games on a disc base where I don't have to pay like a certain amount of money on the actual like storefront. I can buy, like, for example, Assassin's Creed, I believe Assassin's Creed 2. Like, I literally bought it for $1 on eBay and put the disc in the system. The disc looked like it was like passed around to everybody, right? But I put it in the system and the system can read it, and then it can download like a updated version of it, right? Without having to like there's no like you gotta wait for them to remaster it, basically.
Right.
You know, where a lot of games now we're seeing all these remasters and stuff come out of nowhere. It was like it was remastering it on a disc base. I I think Red Dead Redemption 1 is now everywhere. At the time, the best place to play it was the Series X or the Xbox One X. For the same reason, it was remastering it on a hardware level where you don't just do that on any other console, basically. On PC, technically, you can mod it. But it was like automatically doing it. You know what I mean? So it's like I saw value in that, and I still see value in just having it. Period. Anything that I've already bought, anything in my library, I'm already gonna like play through. I actually plan to keep getting Game Pass periodically anyway, because I figured out how to finesse it just like everybody else. And I think I already told you about how I was doing it. Yep. So it's still very valuable for me. And I guess we got to get to a point where we stop worried about how everybody else is playing a game and stop trying to I guess what's the word? Stop trying to gatekeep it. You know, it's because this whole thing blew out of proportion because everybody's trying to gatekeep as much as they can.
Yeah. Yeah. So I always feel two ways. You know, I'm always against gatekeeping, but again, I always get afraid of. So I always feel for both ends. But yeah, get away from gatekeeping. PlayStation just got to share more as well.
So this leads into another topic that we can go to. We'll come back to Xbox next week once we get some more information, and expect a video from me also once we get more information, because I have more things I'm going to say about console gaming in general. But this goes into another topic that is more of a breaking news that I think is very related to what's going on for anybody who's wondering what happens when the monopolies become monopolies. But apparently slightly not gaming, but still somewhat related to what we've been talking about. Have you heard about the information going on with Funimation? Remember the anime service?
Yeah, that's good. They closed and they're owned by Crunchyroll.
Yeah, so they're going into Crunchyroll. I think it's going to be 100% official by April 2nd, 2024. Yep. Interesting thing about it, though, that we're finding out, Crunchyroll, keep in mind, that's owned by Sony. But apparently, if you bought anything under Funimation that is not under Crunchyroll, you actually lose your library. Similar to when they was taking things out of the library before with PlayStation, that I think they moonwalked. Right now, that's like the thing. Yeah. And maybe it might change if they moonwalk it, but right now, you lose anything digitally that you've bought, basically.
They need to make a way for the person to load it, like so they own the file.
Yeah.
Because, like, unfortunately, the issue necessarily isn't like Crunchyroll just saying we're not going to acknowledge that you purchased it. It's literally not in their system, right? Like that's part of the problem is anything that you bought from Funimation that's not in Crunchyroll, it's not in there. Like it's not going to read it. Uh, and that's a weird thing because it wasn't that the Funimation library is Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll was always like mainly subbed anime, and then dubbed. And Funimation was primarily dubbed. Uh, and based off of like Toonami and all that other stuff. But then Crunchyroll got more dubbed stuff. It doesn't have everything. Uh, so I do think that is messed up.
Yeah, and so this is a situation where Crunchyroll is now becoming the monopoly in a way.
Yep.
And so what also is happening is that if you had a subscription from Funimation, I believe the price of it was somewhere around like $54.99, and your subscription just converts over, and your new price is now $99.99.
Yeah, that's another issue. Crunchyroll costs more for like certain things. So like that was one of the reasons why I used to have Funimation. Like I
Mm-hmm.
would turn it on when I was like watching like My Hero Academia weekly or like one of the animes weekly, and then turn it back off when I'm done. So currently it's off, but like it would only charge me. It was like $5 a month, or no, seven. It was $2 a month. Uh, and now like Crunchyroll, I think was like it's higher than that.
Yeah.
That's
So
again why I don't like Monopoly stuff because they get to set the price. Because again, it's like, well, I don't want to pay that. It's like, okay, well, go watch anime elsewhere. Oh, you can't, right? Like unless
yeah,
you want to do it illegally, but like, no, you can't. Haha. Oh, I hate that.
yeah. I saw a lot of people saying they was gonna start pirating. I did see that. I saw it. But I think the biggest thing too, if we relate it back to gaming, there were a lot of people who was wondering for Xbox if they were gonna shut everything down, like if that's the worst case scenario, what's gonna happen to their digital library. I'm kind of in that boat as well. I don't think that Microsoft would like shut it all down. You know, I think they're gonna preserve your libraries for as long as they can because they would have a PR nightmare, and they've been trying to avoid PR nightmares as much as they can. And they're still, I I would assume, trying to buy as many people as they want. So yeah. As far as like Crunchyroll, unfortunately, we have this situation right now. Hopefully, they do something about it as well, because the last few times that we've like covered it, they've moonwalked on a lot of things too. Maybe they can
Oh,
like yeah.
their
Um
statement was again, it's like the Funimation, like you were buying it from like a Funimation DVD.
mhm.
Crunchyroll does not own, like it doesn't recognize the Funimation DVD. I understand this can be sad, but keep in mind we appreciate your understanding and we are doing everything we can pretty much to give you an exceptional anime streaming experience.
So it's like you
And
SOL.
like yeah, that's what they
That's
said. It was
basically
like,
what they
well,
saying.
like dang, I'm sorry, that sucks, but like, what you gonna do? Which
Yeah.
again is why I don't like this idea of digital only purchases because now it's not everything's a rental. And again, you run into a case like this where if monopolies happen and something gets bought up, and then they're like, "Oh, but we don't recognize that format," your thing is now just gone,
Yeah.
like forever. And you spent money on it, and it's because purchasing no longer means ownership, which is so crazy to me. So it's like, then why are you
Yeah.
stealing? Like, I feel like that's the same logic.
I'm gonna address that a little bit further in a solo vid, but I don't like that at all. I don't like the idea that my purchase is not a secure purchase. Like I don't feel like I would like to feel secure in what I buy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we got a few other light topics that we can go into before we can get out of here. Um, one thing, so one of your topics, I guess. So Power Rangers. There's gonna be a Power Ranger that's gonna go into Fortnite. Do you want to
Yeah,
say
so there
something
was
about it?
rumors coming out that the Power Rangers was coming to Fortnite, and everybody's like, "Oh, which ones?" And it was assumed it was like the original Mighty Morphin, and we were still trying to figure out which one. And then finally, one of the guys who helped design the Ryu Ranger, the Crimson Hawk Ranger,
Mm-hmm.
uh, he had posted an image and was like, "My design's making it into Fortnite." Like he threw that in Instagram. It was like real happy and it was like real. So everybody's like, "Oh, that's the one." So the Ryu Ranger, for some reason, him specifically, is being put into Fortnite.
That would be pretty cool if they start like putting a bunch of them. I guess.
Well, I feel like they should put the ones that use like
Yeah. I mean the obvious ones are gonna be Green Ranger, White Ranger, Red Ranger, Gold probably.
you
And
gotta put the Black Ranger in there.
yeah,
You
okay.
got to. That's what
Uh,
they do now. So the
okay.
Gold, the
All
Black
right.
Ranger.
You cancel.
Uh oh,
Uh,
I canceled.
you
You know
cancel.
what? Trying to ignore
I
him,
wasn't even
and
about to say it. You cancel. But
then they gotta put the Black Ranger, and then uh yeah, there's a lot that they could use. Like, oh, there's so many. There's 30 years worth. So they get one of each color.
yeah, I mean Fortnite's got so much going on. Like it's hard to even keep up. It's just there's so much going on in Fortnite. Because I saw, because you could kind of mix up the abilities and stuff. I saw a video of Dark Vader doing the Kamehameha wave, and it actually was like what like made them win the match or whatever.
Yep.
Uh, so yeah, it's all over the place. You just have fun with it. Um, so that's a good game. Let's talk about a bad game real quick. We could just be very very brief with it because I don't know if you probably have some words on it, but Suicide Squads is not doing too hot. Um,
Uh,
Another game that's third party, technically, uh, but third party ain't always the move, I guess, for everybody else. But for this game, I mean, we was already kind of looking at it like it's probably dead on arrival. But
yep.
once it gets to the point where everybody's kind of attacking it on top of that, it's like, man, because we mentioned it before, people not happy with the whole Batman situation, but they kind of turned on this game a little bit, and I don't know. Do you think rightfully so? Maybe, is it just still more like war against live service? I don't know. Like,
So yes, I think it is a war. One, it's a war against a live service. Two, I think one of the biggest issues was that Gotham Knights was labeled as its own thing and basically almost followed, other than like for the most part, kind of followed
mm-hmm.
in Arkham's footsteps, but like still wasn't great. And Suicide Squad was considered a direct sequel of a beloved trilogy, and just kind of threw all of it away.
Yeah,
Right? Like even to the point people are even pointing out that they had to come up with, and it wasn't a good explanation, but an explanation of why there's a whole different Deadshot in the game, because there was a Deadshot in Arkham, and they used the white one, and then this game has the black one, and they had to explain that within the game. Was like, why is there a different Deadshot? And like it almost kind of ignores a lot of Arkham stuff that happened, and it's just there's no real like connection to the Arkham stuff. And then the fact that it's just a generic kind of shooter painted as Suicide Squad, and then I've heard about things about the game where the ending isn't even satisfying, and then they really tried to force in the live. Like you can see where it goes for the live service stuff. And then the first announced character for like DLC was the Joker, but different universe one.
Yeah.
And people are annoyed with that because again, people were annoyed when Joker popped back up in Arkham because it was like
Hmm.
we were done with him, and then all of a sudden now he's just there again, and it's just like we're just ignoring it. It didn't feel
It
right
undoes
and
it's almost
efficient.
like Matrix Resurrections in a
Yeah,
way, where it undoes the trilogy, and the trilogy
and
was like was what it was supposed to be.
so yeah, this is another game I'll pick up around Black Friday when it's like $10 and try it out because I heard for some people said for what it is and
Hmm.
everything, like the shoot games, like they had fun with it. And again, it's Rocksteady, so despite their issues with its continuity, they still know how to tell a story. Uh, and Rocksteady had their story and everything, so I want to play through that. But eh, about the rest,
I remember like really early on, this game was supposed to be like a system seller for you. Remember you said that?
yeah, if it was done correctly, it would
It's
have been
just
this
crazy how
Gotham
time went
Knights.
on,
Like,
like how it changed
yeah,
so much.
this and Gotham Knights would have been system sellers, and it was just like, no, never mind.
Yeah. So the industry is just going through it. Sometimes we got some good stuff, sometimes we got some bad stuff. I don't know if I mentioned it but before, but like Square Enix, when I was using them as an example of like a third party publisher, I think I did mention this. Like Final Fantasy is like what they're like banking on right now, but as a company, their profits have been down by like 42%. Did I mention that
Oof,
part?
that's a lot.
Um, yeah, like
That's a lot, a lot.
the industry is just kind of going through it. Like you got some good stuff happening and some bad stuff happening, but it seems like more bad is outweighing the good overall. It's been interesting. It's been very interesting, but it's the industry's all over the place. Last topic, I guess. WWE, I guess, is gonna come out with their next game, the
Next month.
2K24, next
Yep, it got
month.
announced like a week ago, and it comes out in March like 5th or something. Uh,
So is this a day one buy or what? What we gonna
no,
do with this one?
nope. So, excuse me, they're touting 40 years of WrestleMania, right? But if we think about this, they got contracts with people, right? There goes Brock, there goes Vince, there goes Daniel Bryan, Big Show, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho. Like a lot of their biggest people, like nope, they can barely get contracts for old songs, let alone people in it.
They'll probably
So
spam Stone Cold versus The Rock. That's easy.
probably, so they'll
Rock
do that.
and John Cena, that kind of thing.
Uh, then on top of that, I've just had issues with a lot of UK games. So uh, this one they're bringing back a bunch of matches that were they had the ambulance match, uh, special referee match, and a bunch of other stuff. I think the gauntlet match is coming back, and like that's cool and all, but as always, there's other weird stuff that they always do. Like one of the things that bothered me the most in like the last game, for 2K23, was their 2K or like their original characters that they made for the My Rise mode were
Hmm.
locked in the My Rise mode, and they put in a patch for create a wrestler where the people on PC were able to like dig deep into game data and pull people from my faction and my rise and put them in community creations. They put in a patch where these would automatically be they appeared. Uh, and it's like you one, you're controlling what's in community creations now. Two, it's in the game. Why are they locked behind of that mode? Like the mode, my eyes didn't end in a fun like it ended, but it left a lot on the table, and then it wasn't even like the other ones where it keeps going. This one is like that's the end of the story, and it's like, well, if I want to continue this in universe mode, I can't because you won't let me get the people.
Mm.
And it's just like they're not even like real people. Like you made them. Why are you locking them? Like you made them. You made them, and no way to unlock them. And it's just you're blocking community creations. You're doing that. Still can't do custom music. Some of the cutscene stuff wasn't working for me in universe mode. Uh, and it's just the idea that it's like, well, well, for sure my faction's gonna work, even though no one plays it. But that's where they can get extra money. But then the other stuff just breaks. In community creation, still, like up until I deleted the game, so by December, mind you, again, the game came out in March after all their patches and everything. By December, trying to play 2K23, if I go into community creations, I can get through 2 pages worth of stuff and then it stops loading completely. Like it
Yeah, I
just
think
won't load the next page.
the
And it's
biggest
like, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the biggest deal breaker for me for that game was the custom music and the custom characters, like the way that they've kind of locked that down a little bit. It was like that was
Yeah.
the whole point for
So
me to
you can't
play.
do custom music, and they always say it's the system that holds it back. But I'm like, you can put file like there should be a way to read off of like if you can read if like the console can read from a hard drive, you can fix the game to read from a hard drive as well, and then you can put music on the hard drive. But that's locked.
I think maybe the
Little stuff
PC version you can mod. The problem
you
is
can
that
you can change music in and out, but they've also been trying to add mod stuff.
yeah, I think the problem also too is that like there's not too much of an incentive to do a bunch of mods for the community when the next game is like right around the corner, you
That
know.
too. Uh,
So
so they do little things like that, and then like even a minor complaint where uh the stage and like ramp videos they have like the little images and stuff. The only options are ones that belong to wrestlers already. So it's like if you make a custom character and everything, it's like you still gotta walk to the ring where like it says Apollo Crews all over the ring because you want it that's green. Or like it's gonna say somebody else's like one of the ones that's super generic is just this white background. It's like all scratched up. But then like all across the ring it says Sonya Deville everywhere. Because it's her uh apron thing and you can't they
yeah,
don't have generic ones. So it's just like I can make a custom music like entrance video, but I can't use a generic like ring apron thing, so now I'm stuck using someone else's. So it's like you really designed this to where I can only use the wrestlers you want me to use. That's what it
yeah,
feels like. So until that stuff gets fixed, like I'm done with it.
yeah.
But
It's
Muhammad
unfortunate.
Ali's game if you want to play him.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because I used to really like play the games, the wrestling games. They used to be like some of the top games that I would play, especially like really early on in the PS2 and the N64. But yeah, once that particular game, once it became a monopoly in itself, it kind of just they've been able to dictate what you do with it, and it took some of the fun away. So yeah, I'm anti monopoly. I'm more anti. I'm pro competition, anti monopoly. So yeah, I guess that's probably it. We can wrap it up now. Again, you will hear a solo video from me for this, and then afterwards, you are going to get more content from me that I am preparing to release. That should be a little bit more frequent going forward because I'm also investing in like hardware and stuff that's going to make content creation way more easier for me. Part of the reason you don't see it as much is just because of yes, real life is always going to come first, and then on top of that, like setting up lights and stuff take a while. But going forward, I'm gonna have things set up where it's like I never have to take anything down, and I'm in spoiler alert for my next video. I'm also gonna mention how I'm gonna be investing in a PC. I haven't narrowed it down completely, but I'm trying to get one of these really expensive super PCs that's gonna have like all the bells and whistles. That's gonna make content creation so much easier. Because my potato laptop can only do so much. But other than that, expect a solo video on me, or from me once we all get the official information from Xbox, and then also expect us to, commentate on it a little bit more probably next week. Yeah, and other than that, man, happy gaming. There's still plenty of stuff out there to play. Play your backlogs. One thing we can learn from this though is no matter what's going on in gaming today, you as the consumer, the gamer, don't feel pressured to have to play something over something else. Like you should still enjoy the games that you are playing. It's all about your escape, your fun. You should not feel pressure to play something immediately because somebody else is trying to make money off of you. And I think like that's probably the one thing we just have to remember, because with everything that's going on, it seems to always come down to a money play, and everything is all about money. But when you think about it, it's like, well, where does that money come from? And at the end of the day, it comes from you, and you still gotta, worry about your own pockets. You know what I mean? You can't be worried about the pockets of any corporation, especially some of them that are as big as they are. So, like Sony owning Crunchyroll and other things like the movies and stuff, Microsoft being like a $3 trillion company and stuff is like they make all this money, they're making it on us. Like if anything, we got to try to like protect our pockets a little bit more and try to get as much out of gaming as we can, because I think the real console war in this generation is not really a console war, but I think it's the war between the gamer and the corporations, the investors. You know what I mean? That's what I'm thinking it is, because everything that we're talking about and everything that everybody else is talking about is all coming down to money.
Agree.
It's been money from the get-go, from third-party publishers that were just delisting stuff left and right, and it's just like, man, like I just want to play on my terms. When I get to your game when I'm ready to, and that's how it's going to be. And I stand by that. I think that I should always be able to operate on my own authority and accord, basically. But yeah, that's all I got for you here. Leave a like on the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for rocking with me. I will catch you next week. Peace.